Hey, hello. Welcome to episode number 83 of the People We Love podcast. I am Adam Choit. What's up? If you are new here, what I do is interview people from all walks of life, often comedians and other artists about their lives and careers. It's a casual conversation, but I also ask everyone to highlight someone they love, someone who they admire, who influenced them, inspired them, or supported them. Or sometimes it's more than one person, as is the case with today's episode. But for more, check out peoplewelovepodcast.com. That's peoplewelovepodcast.com. And the Instagram handle is peoplewelovepodcast. And you can find me on Instagram as well, Adam Choit, if you want to follow me too. And please remember to tap subscribe or follow on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. And of course, positive reviews on iTunes are greatly appreciated as well. So, today's guest is comedian Mike Menendez. Born and raised in Miami, Florida, he recalls his journey as a teenager on the path to sports broadcasting. Unfortunately, the University of Miami didn't love him inserting jokes with giving the scores, so Mike eventually found his way into stand-up comedy in Chicago and then Los Angeles. As a kid, though, he tells me about 5 of his best friends, his basketball buddies, who were all just good kids and good friends who mean a lot to Mike. They are Antonio, Logan, Andrew, Lamar, and George. Let's just get into it. Here's Mike Menendez. How you doing today, Mike Menendez? Thanks for joining me on the Zoom here.
It's good to be here, Adam. I'm good, man. I'm good. I had a wonderful day. Just played some basketball today with my friend, who I usually whoop his ass, but I got into a fight with my dad over some political shit before I went to go play basketball, and I lost 3 games to a guy that I always beat. So it turns out my dad can get in my head and force my downfall. So I got to.
There's a lot to analyze already, just with how's it going. So, but you are in Miami right now. You're usually in LA, live in LA, but you're in Miami. Is that correct?
Yeah, I closed out in LA. Like, I was in an apartment for like 7 years there, and my roommate situation just kind of fell apart. And I just decided to close out 7 years. I just saw where it was going, man. Like, in LA right now, there would only be like alcohol and bad situations to get into. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you plan on coming back once things open back up, get back to normalcy?
Oh yeah, that's I love that place to death. Like, I miss it very much. The last like 7 years I've lived there, I've been like the happiest and saddest and craziest and most eye-opening. It really is a wonderful place, and I don't mean Hollywood. I mean like Los Angeles itself. Because I've done gigs in the surrounding areas, like, and I've gotten to know places like Long Beach and Downey and Rancho Cucamonga and Chino Hills and North Hollywood, and you do Venice and everything like that. Like, I really can't stand people that don't venture outside of Hollywood, man. It's really cool in Los Angeles.
In terms of, are you talking about comedians booking gigs nearby Los Angeles, or are you talking about just people in general, or both? Like, people just don't travel as far enough?
Both. Comedians in general and people in general. I've really grown in love with Los Angeles, like, the entire time I've been there. And I still don't really know it. That's why, like, I really want to go back, because I'm like, there's still stuff I haven't really figured out about.
There's always things to discover, I suppose, in any city. Like, because people will ask you, how long have you been living here and you haven't been to? How could you not have been to so and so? Everyone has an example of something like that. But why don't we get into it in your life, and you could tell me where you grew up, where you're from. Where are you from? Miami, from Florida originally?
Born and raised in Miami, Florida. Yeah.
What do you remember from like the real early days when you were like even before kindergarten? Like, I always ask people if they have any memories from like
my
before 5 years old. Like, what jumps out at you?
My first memory was falling off a pony when I was 3. That was my first memory.
Yeah, so that was a bad memory. We only remember the bad things.
I was like halfway down, and I think I was so scared it shocked me into early memory. So like, my animal instincts kicked in. I fell off. I don't know who was supposed to be watching me, but I fell off this pony. I'm 3, and then I'm halfway down, and all of a sudden I'm like I'm in life, and I'm like, the hell is this? I'm like, this is high. How do I know that already? Like, and then I fell, and that was the first memory.
You weren't hurt though, but it's still traumatic.
It's traumatic, but it's pretty much been down from there the entire time. So it's pretty much
No,
stayed.
man, it's up. You climbed back. You get back on the pony afterwards?
I got back on the pony and I kept falling. It was a thing I was constantly doing one way or another.
No, you didn't. You're lying. No, you didn't fall
Now
off the
I'm an
pony.
adult. Now I'm falling off of horses. So
Oh, you mean like horses, bigger, yeah.
big ass horses.
Ponies are not baby horses. People often think that they are, but
I know.
they're a whole nother thing.
Conception. I never had that misconception growing up. I always knew ponies were separate from horses. Just something I knew. I was ahead of the curve.
Maybe I knew more dumb people, or we're just smarter than everyone.
Where are you from?
I'm from New York, from Long Island originally, but I've been in LA a long time.
Oh yeah, a lot of you guys come down here to the University of Miami and pick up a coke habit for like 4 years and then go back and work for your family business. I know a lot of people from Long Island.
I didn't go to the U.
No, I know. I'm sure you knew a lot of people that went to the U.
Yeah, no, I went to Syracuse, but there was opportunity perhaps if I wanted to pursue that habit, but I found other ones, I suppose.
I was denied from Syracuse. That was one of the places that I applied to.
Yeah, I always tell people when I get waitlisted or denied from a college that they, I went to so-and-so. Yeah, those fuckers didn't let me in.
Yeah, no, well, the thing was that I wanted to be a sports journalist out of high school. That's what I really wanted to do because I love sports and everything like that.
At high school or in fort?
Out of high school. Out of high school.
Oh, out of high school. Well, yeah.
I wanted to be a journalist, and so I applied to like Northwestern, Syracuse, Fordham University in the Bronx in New York, and then University of Miami, FIU. That was basically the 5, and I didn't get into Northwestern or Syracuse because I'm Chinese. And no, that's otherwise.
Yeah, people can't see the video, but he's not.
Oh, they can't see the video. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, Menendez.
That's okay. I'll describe things.
I thought they were going to see the video. I dressed up for this shit.
That's also a lie.
That is not. Look at my hair. I taped it up.
Oh yeah, the hair looks good. He's wearing a t-shirt, but the hair looks good.
There's a nice little dry fit. This is something I think like LeBron in between practices.
No, it's not. It's good. No, you're looking good. But dressing up, I don't know if that's the right phrase.
No, I'm not dressing up, but you know,
by our standards, by me and your standards, because I have the similar. Yes. I have a somewhat well-groomed beard and a t-shirt on that's not totally wrinkled, I guess.
A little good, man.
We're on top of things. We are on top of
this shit. So
you're from Miami, and we jumped ahead to high school, but you were telling me about you were looking for journalism schools. And you were from Florida, because you're asking me where I'm from. I don't know if you ever even said exactly where you grew up.
Miami, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
I wanted to be a sports journalist, so I eventually got into the University of Miami, and I did sports radio there for like 2 years, and I was in a fraternity, and I was like completely different life than what I would eventually get into.
What about before that, when you were in elementary school? What do you remember about those days? What kind of kid were you?
I was good grades, bad behavior, so I'd always get A's and B's in like my grade column and like C's and D's in my conduct column. I always finish work early so I could fuck around in class. Like that's what I would always do.
Yeah. I've interviewed a few of those types. The good grades, bad behavior. I've interviewed bad grades, bad behavior. I think the reverse too. Everyone's got their story.
Yeah, I was like, I had a decent mind. I was just really bored by school. I just didn't like it.
Yeah, that's usually what it seems to be. It's not that people can't apply themselves. It's that they don't want to and aren't interested in the material, or it's not interesting to them. Were you into sports? I'm guessing you went to sports as a kid, or
I was really, really, really fat growing up. So I would play sports for like hours, but then I'd go home and drink like a 2-liter bottle of Coca-Cola by myself, and I'm like 8 years old, 9 years old. Like, but I'd always keep up with my friends who were athletic, and they were taller than me and skinnier than me, and everyone's like, "Why do you look like that?" And I'm like, "Because I undo all this shit when I get home." So yeah, I played a lot of basketball. I still play basketball to this day. It's the one sport I've consistently played for like 20 years. But I never played professionally. Not professionally. I never played in high school or anything like that because I just didn't have the discipline. I hated running. Like I was a pretty good like little league baseball player, and then I stopped. I stopped because when you go from Mustang to to Pony League. For some reason, Pony League is the more like difficult league. It's for the older kids. I remember I was playing Little League up until I was like 11 years old. And then our first practice, the coach made us run, which you don't do in the younger leagues. He made us like run wind sprints and do
What
like
a dick.
Yeah. And then I was like, I don't want to do this shit anymore. So that was the end of my baseball career.
That's why I quit playing lacrosse after like 3 days in high school. When I tried that, I was like, nah, this is too much running. Baseball I liked, but I wasn't as good as I wanted to be. So that was kind of my thing.
Oh, man, yeah. Baseball was fun when I was younger.
What about what was the other sport? Oh, basketball. What would you say is like your strengths as a basketball player and your weaknesses? What aspects of the game are you good at, and what do you struggle with?
Shit talking. I'm stupendous at.
Yeah, I would assume so. Stand-up comedian. You should be advanced.
Oh yeah, no,
you should write for other players.
I say some really weird shit to people. It's not just shit talk. It's like it's also just silly. Like if I hit a 3-pointer or something like that, and I see a kid that's on the side watching the game, I'll look at him and be like, "You're the future, but I'm the present." I'll just yell that in front of everybody.
Yeah. Whatever it takes to get other people off their game. That's really what the name of the game is, I suppose. Did you have close friends that you played hoops with growing up, even when you were, real young, elementary school, middle school, adolescent?
My friend Antonio, who would eventually join the Navy. For 6 years, he was in a submarine. My friend Logan, who was junior college pitcher of the year for Miami-Dade College, and now he's a regional manager at UPS. And then my friend Andrew, who I do not talk to anymore. I just haven't seen him in a while. But he was like 6'4". He played high school ball. And then there was this guy named Lamar Clark, who was just good at, everything and just a really cool dude. So, I mean,
it was a good group of guys.
Really good group. I mean, in that group, I named 2 Cubans, the most Cuban white guy I've ever met in my life, and a black dude from Carroll City. It was a wonderful.
Yeah.
George Triana. I don't want to leave him out just in case he listens to this podcast, because he let me stay in Chicago the first time I featured at a comedy club. He let me stay in his apartment, so I wouldn't have to pay for like a hotel. So George,
yeah, that's cool that you had that group. I'm sure you guys were perfect angels all the time. Am I correct now?
You're actually like good kids. The fake tough guys like would never really mess with us because we weren't fighters or anything like that. We were just like cool dudes. We just didn't care. I remember my friend Antonio, the Navy dude, he brought up this story recently where we were playing basketball, and there were these set of twins that I used to just hate. Like they were both my nemesis, or maybe it was just one guy. I don't know. They were both my nemesis growing up, and then we were playing basketball, and I was talking mad shit to them when I was like 10 or something. And then Antonio said, I remember one of them threw a ball at you from like 5 yards away as hard as he could, and you caught it with your hands perfectly, and then you rolled it back at him and said, "You want to try that again?" And then you kept playing.
That's awesome.
And I love hearing old stories about me. I really do.
Do you have a lot of moments like that in your life? I mean, those are the kind of moments where I feel like that's like that's on our list somewhere, even though it seems insignificant. But those sort of like the moments when you're super smooth, like when you could almost be like in like a movie scene or something like that.
It's like the thing about that is like if you're really, my biggest problem is that I've never really thought too much about the shit that I do, which is good if you're trying to write jokes and trying to do stuff on stage. It's bad if you're trying to maintain interpersonal relationships and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think too much. So I'll balance us out here in this podcast episode, perhaps.
Right. No, but like, for instance, I remember a friend of mine one time. She was down in the dumps. She's a waitress, and then I was like, "Are you okay?" She has a trash bag in her hand, and I said, "Are you okay?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna go. I need to take out the trash." So I didn't even think. I just wrapped. She's smaller than me, so I put the trash bag over her. It was one of those clear trash bags. I put the trash bag over. I'm like, "All right, let's take out the trash." And I put her over my like shoulder, and she like died laughing. So that's when it's cool. But when it's bad is when you say some shit that like all of a sudden a person's mad at you for like 3 weeks because of something that you said, like kidding around. but
Yeah.
it hit them in a certain way.
Your spontaneous nature giveth, your spontaneous nature taketh away. It's a double-edged sword kind of thing.
It's double-edged sword, and I think I've matured a little bit. I mean, I've certainly thought a lot about those kind of things in the last 5 months. Like,
the fact that you're just having these thoughts, I think that's a step towards, I don't know,
towards me not being funny, towards me being an accountant and not being funny.
That's not true at all. Come on.
No, man, I'm starting to think about other people's feelings, man. I'm gonna fucking lose my.
That's a bit right there. I'm afraid of I'm not going to be funny anymore because I think I'm going to hurt people's feelings. Well, you'll always find material in whatever you're going through. That's how I feel about comedians. I don't know. Maybe you could speak to that more, but as a comedian, as a stand-up comedian, but I feel like you know, whether you're having family, whether you're a single guy, whether you're going through emotional problems, whatever the case may be, like, whatever, you know, you find funny in the situation.
I'm single, and I thank the Lord that I'm single in this time, man. Everybody around me. How many people have you known that have broken up like during this whole thing?
I have to think about it more.
I've known so many people that were in long-term things that broke up in the last few months. Like I know a couple that was like in a 30-year marriage that broke up recently. Like everybody's breaking up, and meanwhile, I'm getting closer with myself. Like
That's good.
I did not realize how much I loved myself, man. Like
that's great. Well,
the thing is that I've always been like I've always liked my alone time. Like I've always liked to be by myself. Like I love being in social settings and everything like that, but like I don't like being in the same friend group for too long. Or like I watch How I Met Your Mother, and I'm like, how did these people stay together for 10 years, let alone like 6 months? I'm like, I can't stay with the same friend group because I get tired, I get bored, and then I want to move on. And then I'll stay like acquaintances with those people, but like I don't know. I'm always just looking to kind of just maneuver by myself and everything. I just love my alone time. So what's weird is that I've been here in Miami, and I've gotten reacquainted. I've gotten reacquainted with a lot of friends, but they're all married and stuff like that now. And then, you know, I go to the parties with them, the little get-togethers. Like for instance, I went on 4th of July. It was a little get-together, and everybody was a couple. And I'm like, I love, you know, and they introduced me to a friend of theirs who, you know, she was like my de facto lady for that night, like in terms of like, this is who you're with for tonight. You know what I mean?
Even just hanging out with and talking, if nothing material, it's like, that's what you mean. Yeah.
This is what makes, like, this is the person that's going to bring equilibrium to the shit.
It's your home base kind of, if you don't know anyone else.
Well, when the couples are all talking and everything like that. So I had a great time, and then I hung out with that group like a few more times, and I love it. But I know that if it lasts for more than like 2 months, I'm gonna start to feel suffocated. Like I don't like being a couples guy. Like I don't like being No.
But why not hang out with that group or those people once in a while? And
once in a while I love it. But I'm talking about when you're like in a sitcom situation where it's the same people, you go to the same bar every week. Like I did that once, man, and that shit was just like, oof. It's just like it's just not me. And the thing is that I'm not dissing anybody that does it. I just mean it's not for me. I want to be like a reoccurring character in somebody else's sitcom. I don't want to be main cast.
Interesting. It's an interesting way to put it, I suppose. What about the friend group that you played basketball with? Did you keep in touch with those guys like through high school? Did you play with a different like? Is that?
Well, you know what's funny? That everybody I mentioned in that basketball crew when I was younger, we all went to separate high schools, but we all stayed in touch and would hang out. I went to an all-boy Jesuit school, and I only talk with like 2 kids to this day still. And I actually I'm doing CrossFit with them tomorrow. I never did CrossFit, but there's a pandemic and I can't have real fun. So I'm doing CrossFit tomorrow.
Yeah, that sounds the opposite of fun. I don't know much about CrossFit.
It's sadistic. It's like 50 Shades of Grey for dudes, man. It's really weird, dude. It's like really weird. So I'm doing that with them, but yeah, I kept in contact with everybody. Well, you know what's good is that I'm a phone call person. So like I during the week, especially in LA, when I'm caught up in traffic and shit, I'll call somebody and I'll talk. Like my 19-year-old cousin that goes to Florida State, I'll call her up and we'll talk for an hour. Or there's a guy from Chicago that I used to know 6 years ago. I'll call him and we'll talk for half an hour. You know what I mean? Like,
No, yeah, I got you. You know, what's funny is like before all this went down, I had a fairly short commute to work, and now I'm home, so I've sort of like, I call people less, although I'm calling people more and doing more Zoom and things like that for sure. What about high school? What do you remember from them? What kind of kid were you then? Were you into other things besides sports? When did comedy sort of become a thing? Were you watching movies and music? Like what were you into? Did you have family? Did you have siblings? Did you mention?
Yeah, I have a younger brother. He's the shyer, nicer one of us two. Like he's the one that like I couldn't do what I do without my brother kind of encouraging me and being like a stable person next to me, which is weird because he's my younger brother, but he acts like he's my older brother in terms of stability and
what's the age difference?
2 years.
2 years. And why do you think that is? That is he like the more, I don't want to say stable. I don't know that's too whatever specific, but I don't want to say, is he the more like
stable? Yeah. I don't know what it is. I think he just
you're more spontaneous.
I'm more spontaneous. I think I've maintained a lot of like, I've always described like stand-up. It's like, it's intellectualized immaturity. That's what I think stand-up is. It's intellectualized immaturity.
I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Right. So you gotta like convey to an audience through your intellect why your shit joke means the world. Like, or whatever, like whatever, sophomoric shit that you're going through. Like, it's the one thing that I've just maintained always. Like, I'm pretty much always that guy since I was a kid. Like, that was the first thing I knew about myself. Before I knew what my reflection looked like, I knew I was funny. I just knew people around me were like, because I would do weird shit. Like, I remember one time my aunt, she used to say, The Fugitive was a big movie when I was a kid with Harrison Ford when I was like 5 years old.
Yeah, I love that movie.
I was like 5, and someone let me watch it. And then at a party one time, I used to just like wait in the closet and wait for someone to come by. And it could be an adult. And I would jump out of the closet and I'd yell, I didn't kill my wife. And I'd run right back in the closet. I was 5. And that's the kind of weird shit I would just do. And I, fast forward to like my mom today was in my mom, because I'm staying with my parents. My mom today was in my room, like bringing some shirts, and I'm working. And, I'm in my 30s now. And my mom was bringing stuff in my room, and I'm trying to work, and she's talking to me. And all of a sudden I got like, I put on like a Blink-182 type of fan voice. Like, and I was just like, get out of here, Mom. Get out, Mom, get out. Like that. She started cracking up. She's like, why are you doing that? And she's like, I'm like, I had a half-eaten piece of beef jerky under my pillow. Where's my beef jerky, Mom?
Yeah, you're playing a character. You're doing like, did you ever see the guy from the NFL? What's the guy with the gray-haired guy, the nerdy-looking dude, Clayton? When he had the Slayer T-shirt on.
Yeah.
John Clayton. John
Clayton, probably the best reporter in all of sports.
Yeah. And then his mom came in it was like a ESPN ad for Sports Center or whatever. And his mom came in.
Those things are amazing, by the way.
He yelled at her.
They had like a collection of ESPN ads, of those This is Sports Center ads. I forgot just how brilliant those are. And I'm like, I bet like some amazing unknown comedians like wrote all those Sports Center.
For sure.
I mean, they had one. I forgot all about Brett Favre. They had one with Brett Favre.
Yeah, who wrote those? People write those. You don't even really think about it.
Yeah, there was one where they had the UMass Patriot guy. Like, it looks like the New England Patriot mascot.
Yeah, I think I remember this. Yeah.
And they're talking about Brett Favre, and then they're yelling. I think it's Paul Revere that's the UMass mascot. So they're yelling throughout Sports Center, he's coming back, he's coming back, he's coming back, he's coming back. And then the Paul Revere character goes to the window and he puts up 2 lamps like this. And then the anchors are walking by the window and they go, so 2 lamps means he's not retiring, right? Like, yeah, he's not retiring. And I was like,
that's funny. That's creative.
That's so brilliant.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Shit like that makes me mad, dude. Like, I watch shit like that and I'm just like, I'm like, I'm like Salieri watching Mozart, just being like, how, Lord? Why him? But it could be.
And you feel that way anytime you watch a movie or a comedian or anyone who's showing excellence or something like that. You're
No,
you're
I mean,
you're impressed, but you're also what I mean. I'll let you.
not if it's like a friend of mine. Like I never get that way towards my friends. I think I did when I was early in stand up, not anymore. Just kind of because I know how hard people work, and I know a lot of it is not natural talent. I've rarely met I haven't met a lot of naturally talented people when it comes to stand up. It's one of these.
Yeah,
things.
everyone eats shit for a long time before you get good. It sounds like from the lengthy list of comedians I've talked to about this.
Right, and honestly, if you're killing like from a young age, that's gonna be hard to maintain in terms of like. Cutting your teeth and everything like that. It's like you remember like when you did open mics, there were guys that were always killing at open mics.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, they always killed at open mics. And then you do a show with them and they bomb their ass off because all they did was learn how to do open mics.
What would be the difference? Why, if you're funny there, why can't you be funny at a show?
Well, because
higher quality expectations.
Well, because at an open mic, like if you are consistently getting laughs, then you're doing like humor that kind of placates to the ego of the stand-ups in the room. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're saying shit like, whatever, I guess I suck. Like you're in on the joke. Like it's like,
I see. It's not the material. It's other things.
It's other thing. Like I remember there was this dude really funny, like just spoken jokes. He spoke in jokes. But the thing is that he always just wanted to be really liked in the open mic game. And he would go and he would workshop a joke. And if the shit was not going right at the first turn or at the state of the premise, he would just all of a sudden like give up on the joke and start making fun of the room. And he did that for 5 years. And I was, it pissed me off to this day. It pisses me off to this day to think about because I'm just like, that dude was so good. But he like kind of it's weird, man. Like I don't let other comedians affect my shit. And the truth is that like the good comedians I know don't say anything. They just watch and they kind of nod and they'll give you a chuckle or some shit and they won't even give you advice. It's always the people that are bad that give you advice. That's what sucks about doing comedy. The bad comedians will give you advice and the good ones will nod and just say, keep going.
Yeah, I don't even remember who I spoke to, but one comedian was talking about like his first time, second time doing it, or first time at a show. And he wasn't sure how he did. So he asked the club owner, he said, how did I do? Will you give me notes or tell me how I did? He said, don't worry about how you did. Worry about it after doing it 1,000 more times, like basically.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's just something you just got to keep doing and doing. And what's funny is that I didn't realize how much I had done it until I was forced to stop. 4 or 5 months ago.
When did you start doing comedy? Because did you do any like high school theater or performing or anything like that? Because you're talking about sports journalism and then going to college for that. So you can we can kind of catch up to where that part of your life.
So I did 2 plays in high school. We had a really nice theater because it was like an all boy preparatory school. I played Renfield and Dracula. I remember that. And then I played a mentally challenged person in Boys Next Door, which my equivalent in the movie was Nathan Lane. So like it was a really fun role, and like I got to be in love in the thing and everything like that. And but then when I went to college, I decided to do sports, like sports management, sports radio, and I was in a fraternity. Like I was gonna be like that guy. Like that's what I wanted to be.
Play by play.
Yeah, I wanted to be like Sid Rosenberg and Mike and the Mad Dog. Like
a talk show you wanted to do, not play by play.
No, I didn't want to be like a sports center guy. I wanted to do like talk show stuff. And then I remember when I realized it wasn't going to be my thing. I had been on the radio station for like a year. And the guy that I did stuff with, his name's Justin Antwell. This dude is now, I think he's doing Penn State sports now. We're same year, and he's now doing Penn State. That guy was really good. He was from New York. He was a Jets fan. He took me to a Jets game.
So am I.
You're a Jets fan?
I am.
That's great.
I say that proudly, although with sadness in my voice.
Hey, did Joe Namath guarantee that you guys wouldn't win a Super Bowl after Super Bowl III? Because that's exactly what happened, and that
Well,
is
he made the guarantee before, but yeah, he guaranteed the victory.
that we would never win another Super Bowl after Super Bowl III. I feel bad for you Jets and Knicks fans. Are you a Knicks fan too?
Not really. I'm not a hardcore. I just like basketball in the NBA, but I don't really. I root for the Knicks, Laker, whoever. All the New York, LA teams. I just like following the league.
I mean, we're all bitches for the Patriots anyway.
Maybe not
But
anymore.
Bill Belichick will figure it out. See, now I'm getting right back into sports mode. I haven't done that shit.
Yeah, you know what I want. I want to ask you when you transitioned out of the sports and what made you kind of realize that about yourself. Because I just feel like maybe I'm just gonna guess here that it was just too limiting for you. You don't because you love sports, but you don't want your whole life to necessarily revolve around them. You'd rather sports be part of your life, whereas comedy is an outlet where you can ultimately explore anything about the world and yourself, so it doesn't seem as limiting.
It was actually
something to that.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's part of it. Like I remember I was in this radio station and I was doing the scores, and I think I think I rattled off a bunch of jokes, and then my program director came in and he was like, "Hey, Mike, you should just read the scores. You don't have to be funny." And that's when I was like, I'm in the wrong building. And I quit the radio station, but I was still doing sports management. And like I was coaching JV football my freshman year at a high school. And we got fired after a year because me and the coach didn't know what we were doing.
This is random, but do you know comedian Sean McBride?
No.
And because he had the same exact thing happen to him, where he was into sports, did I think college radio or whatever, and he kept inserting jokes into the sports material, and they're like, can you not do that? And he's like, and then eventually he's like, fuck this is not for me.
But they're right.
Became stand up.
Right though, because the thing is like no sports people are actually funny. Like they're not funny. Like the funniest I think is Kenny Mayne, and that's because they let him do these weird exposés.
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
But none of them are really that funny. They're all kind of like they all tell kind of like corny jokes and shit, and like they got like former athletes on the show that make they're pun based, and it's like the Office humor where it's like, isn't it funny how unfunny I am? Like.
Right.
And that was the disconnect. So, but the truth of the matter is, I say that it was limiting, but really why I did it was a girl. That's why I ended up, and that's why I think most men do shit, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk about that off air.
No, we can talk about that.
No, I'm fucking around. Yeah, no, there's a lot of truth to that as well. For sure. So, I mean, is that kind of how you transitioned into comedy? Or you eventually just came to the realization that you want to try this? Like, what happened after you just decided?
We're still like another 4 years away from me trying stand-up. So what happened was that I was in a fraternity and I fell for a girl who like kind of strung me along, and then she became like the pass around girl for the fraternity and shit.
Oh man. What's her name? No, don't say her name.
I don't even know. And
don't do that.
I'm not saying that there's a problem with that. There's not a problem. If that's who you want to be, then that's cool. But it was the string.
Yeah, people are free. Yeah, I hear you. People are free to do whatever they want with their lives.
They're free to do what they want as long as they're not wasting my time. And they did. And then it ended up blowing up in my face, and I felt like a loser in front of like this entire group of people. And I was like, bro, these people ain't my friends, and I ain't gonna. And it turns out like a couple of them ended up being good friends of mine. Like one of them is still a guy that I like talk to in LA because he's like a lit agent. He works, and me and him have been friends for like 10 years now. But I was like, this is not where I'm going to excel, because no one understands what makes me cool here. Everyone's just kind of like, Mike's just like a weird fucking dude. And then I went to the theater department. And luckily they let me into a play. I got in. I told like the head of the theater department, because it's like a BFA program, Bachelor of Fine Arts program. Like you have to audition to get in before college. And meanwhile, I'm a junior. So I'm a junior going into the theater department. And I told the head of the department, because I had taken classes there and stuff. So he knew of me. And I had auditioned like a couple times before, but I never got in. And I said, man, I want to do this shit. I've always wanted to do this shit. Please tell me how I can get in. I know I'm not like a Bachelor of Fine Arts guy, but I'm telling you, if you just let me in, like I'll work as hard, if not harder than everybody else here. And you'll forget that I haven't been tapping my shoes since I was 8 or whatever. And he was really cool because it turns out he was resigning to go to another place. But before he left, he dropped my name to the director that was working there. He said, you gotta get this kid, Mike Menendez, because he's funny, but he's raw. And he put me in Hamlet on the main stage at the University of Miami, and I played the Gravedigger, which the Gravedigger is an extremely, like, it's a comical scene. It's dark as shit, but it's comical. And it was kind of like, I only had like, it was like a 5-minute scene in a 2.5-hour play. Wasn't a big deal, but it was like the only funny scene in the whole play. And I just lit it up because I cared so much about it. I worked on it. Like I studied iambic pentameter like a motherfucker. I was like reciting that shit to class. Like his name was York, because they talk about the skull that Hamlet holds is the name of a clown that he used to play with when he was a kid, York. And ever since then it just took off. Like I was a junior and the seniors like really took a liking to me and they put me under their wing. Like I audited like a BFA class that I wasn't supposed to be auditing, but they like convinced the teacher to let me do it. And then over the next 2 years I did like 8 plays and I wrote one and then I put on one, and I was just like really into it. And then I graduated and I went to Chicago and I studied like at Second City for a year. I did their training program because I thought I wanted to go into more comedy acting and shit. And that was limiting too. Because I remember I was doing a scene. Well, one, I'm a Cuban dude from Miami. Like I know that I'm all articulate and shit, but I'm like a Cuban dude by all intents and purposes. You know what I mean? Just like that's how I feel. That's how I think. That's my sensibility.
Sure.
I always say that like girlfriends I've said I'm dramatic, and I've always said no, I have Hispanic feelings, but I have English words, so it comes off as dramatic, but I'm actually
yeah.
So I remember I was doing a scene at Second City, and this dude, I was already not doing that many scenes because everybody's like from the Midwest and shit, and I'm just not fitting into their humor. They were cool to me and they respected me, but I just didn't find my place. And I remember I was doing a scene, and the teacher goes, Menendez, right? I said, yeah. And he goes, you like being funny, don't you? You like saying funny things? Like you like saying jokes? I'm like, yeah, I like being funny. And he goes, yeah, we don't do that in improv. And once again, it was just like when that guy said, hey, Mike, say the scores, don't make jokes. I was like, I'm in the wrong building again. And
but that's great that you're going to buildings. Many people do not even step foot in the building in the first place, so to speak. To find yourself, to find what you love, sometimes you got to take steps towards places where it's not the best fit.
I mean, those are my favorite things is just shit that scares me and that's outside of my comfort zone. Like,
no, that's great. I need to be more like that. I think I am like that, but I'm not as bold as you at kicking that door open, so to speak, I guess, or something like that.
I mean, I really just look at it like, for instance, I'm a lot of people's first friend. Meaning if you're new to a place, whether it be like a bar I was working at, or if you're a new comedian, or I was always a lot of people's first friend, because to me,
I talked to you at the show. I mean, when I saw you, and that was just that's the only time I've seen you live and seen you in person that I recall.
It was fun, man. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. I mean, obviously we're talking now. It's pretty
true.
This is only the second time we talked, but I love new people. I love like new experiences, and like I always say some corny shit to younger kids. It's corny, but I have to say corny shit to younger people because they think in platitudes. So I always
I don't think it's just younger people, unfortunately.
no
But
younger people like platitudes like really stick to them, and then there's a time that you become jaded, which is like your 20s, like bad shit happens to you, and then all of a sudden platitudes lose their luster, and then you have to. It's almost like that's why people love taking shit like. I heard Michael Pollan, I think that's his name. He's like an expert on psychedelics, like acid and mushrooms and all that shit. And he goes, what's cool about mushrooms and any kind of psychedelic is that all of a sudden you think about things that are corny or cliche and they become very profound again. So to younger people who haven't been jaded by life yet and haven't had to take psychedelics to get back to that mode, I always say to them, like, my favorite place is a place that I haven't been yet. And that's really like how I like thinking, which is weird because I remember like 5 years ago, I saw Matthew McConaughey do that Dallas Buyers Club acceptance speech. And he was like, my hero is me 10 years from now. And 10 years ago, my hero is me now. And he did this whole speech. And I remember just thinking I was with my friend and I said, you know who my hero is? Matthew McConaughey 60 years from now, because he'll be dead. And I said that horrible shit. But it's 5-6 years later, and I still think about that speech, and I understand what he's saying now. I understand as someone who wants to personally grow myself. And I'm sorry, Matthew McConaughey, I was wrong. And then I saw True Detective, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm really wrong. This guy's good.
Yeah, he can. I mean, it's very, very easy to. I mean, he's almost making fun of himself. You got with those car commercials he's in, and you have to be aware of how ridiculous they are. I think that's the brand that's part of his
thing.
His brand. Tell me more about your path into comedy, though. After you got kicked out of improv.
So I was working at a bar in Chicago. I lived there for a year. And I had stayed in Chicago a few months after I graduated from Second City because I thought I was going to stay there. Because I really wanted to be a part of Second City because I loved their tradition. They were producing a lot of SNL people, and my parents loved Second City. So I was like, oh, this would be cool if I was like a kid from Miami that could make it into the company. And then I started to realize just through like I couldn't translate my ideas to people in Chicago that I worked with. I couldn't do it. And then I was like, I have to be in an art form where I don't have to explain myself, where I could just like create and do, and I don't have anybody to tell me like, hey, Mike, we don't want to try that shit. Because I remember I tried a sketch one time and no one in my class got it. And then the same premise a year later was a very famous Key and Peele sketch.
Wow.
And I just remember thinking like, oh, these people don't know what they're talking about. Like they know what they're like, because I like their ideas. I always like really like their ideas, but I just wanted to do my shit too. And I felt like it wasn't, again, because I think I was just so drastically different from where everybody else was from. Which I like, but again, I don't like being stuck in a place too long. So my brother was, I'm sorry. So one night, sorry. So I was doing a storefront play called Accidental Death of an Anarchist, because while I'm training at Second City, I'm also doing a play and then working at a bar. It was so bad. It was like -7 degrees outside. And it was just so bad that I was like, I'm going to do stand up because I'd rather it be -7 degrees outside and I go up and say words that I wrote as opposed to waiting to say some bullshit that somebody wrote like 200 years ago that I don't relate with.
So you decided to be a stand-up comedian in this moment, basically, before even really trying. You're just kind of.
I had tried like a thing in college where I did like a one-man showish type thing, jokes, but it wasn't like real stand-up.
You had an idea that this might be the right path for you.
I think I'd always wanted to do it, but the thing was that I thought stand-ups were kind of these like really cool, like kind of bulletproof dudes, and I was like, I'm not any of those things.
Bulletproof in what way?
Like, you gotta understand, like, growing up, it was Robin Williams and then every black comedian. Those were the comedians that I liked.
Yeah.
Like, So I'm talking like Eddie Murphy, Eddie Griffin, Jamie Foxx.
Big personalities, and
big personalities, dope ass jokes, real commitment to what they're doing. Like
they
Martin
do
Lawrence,
characters also, and obviously things beyond characters too.
yeah, Martin Lawrence like gave it up. Like on stage, he would just run around and everything like that. So I saw that, and I'm like, you know, Robin Williams and Eddie Murphy and you know, and Martin Lawrence are superheroes. I can't do shit.
Yeah, it seemed unreachable. It seemed unfathomable.
Yeah, but then what ended up happening is that, like, you know, I would be in plays and I'd make the crew laugh, or I'd make the guys doing lights and stuff like that, because I would never get like main parts because I was short and I was like wide, so they'd have me play like a supporting character that says a dumb thing, or a villain, because no one in the play is over 60 pounds, so I'm the villain. And you know, so I'd have a lot of time on my hands to make like the crew laugh, and the crew were always just like regular dudes that were just like helping because they had to get a credit. They had to get a credit in theater, so they're like, oh, I guess I'll do shop. And so they were regular dudes, and then I'd make them laugh and everything like that. And that's when I first started having the idea of like, oh yeah, I like entertaining regular people. And I don't have a problem with theater, but I think it's not as accessible as stand-up comedy is. Like,
sure,
it's kind of this thing that's not either because the tickets are too high, or because like it's an outdated. It might be just like an outdated art form. I love theater, me personally, but I know that like I think stand-up is just much more relevant.
And yeah, it's just it's a different thing. I mean, stand-up obviously is a one-to-one conversation between a comedian telling you their thoughts, feelings, ideas, and right. Theater is typically, you know, something scripted.
Well, all I know is that they've had to make a musical out of Spider-Man, and no stand-up comedian has had to dress up like a Marvel character yet. So I think we're pretty good. We're pretty good.
And what about when you tried stand? Yeah, when did you get into it?
So
or how did you get into it?
It was like March 2013. No, yeah, March 2013. And I went to this place called Merkel's. It was a bar on Clark in Wrigleyville next to Wrigley Field. And I had 3 minutes, and I went up and I did what every guy at that time was doing. Like I was trying to be Louis C.K.
Yeah.
Like in terms of speaking and stuff like that. And the shit, you know, you talk about your dick and all that bullshit.
Sure.
So I did it, and I was just bombing for like 3 minutes. And all of a sudden I looked at a girl in the front row, and she just said in front of everyone, "Don't look at me." And I was like, I don't think it could have gone any worse than that. And I said, but why do I want to do it again? And that's, you know, fast forward to now, I've done like a shitload of sets, and there's no reason based on that first one I should have done anything.
Did the people in the audience know it was your first time doing comedy?
No, because I didn't want to.
I figured that.
I didn't want that. I didn't go with anybody I knew. I went by myself because I like really wanted to feel whatever was about to happen to me. I didn't want anybody to bail me out.
Yeah, that's the most natural experience, because most comedians I talk to, their stories are like, oh, the first time I did okay because my friend came and the audience knew and they were supportive, blah, 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 blah. But then the next like 100 times were not good. But for the first time, you wanted to have that natural.
Yeah, experience. I wanted to be outside my comfort zone and kind of have like that Eminem and 8 Mile moment, and then it ended up being the first scene in 8 Mile, not the Victoria's.
Well, yeah.
Joking, man. Like,
but yeah, that sounds like proof that that you're on the right path. The fact that you can do so horribly but still want to pursue this is the sign that you're on the right path.
And I'm so glad I did, man, because this is what I tell everybody. It's just like everything that has happened in my life since I decided to do stand-up comedy has been amazing. Like
what does your family think of you at doing stand-up comedy? Your brother?
They love it. My brother loves it. I mean, my dad was the one that showed me Delirious when I was 13 years old. Showed me Eddie.
It's about old. Yeah, I mean, you're going to find it anyway.
Well, 'cause
around that age, if not younger.
I remember I was watching American Pie, and then my dad came and he saw the guy fucking the pie, and he's like, "This is what you laugh at?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Have I ever shown you Delirious?" I said, I was like, "What's Delirious?" He goes, "It's Eddie Murphy's stand-up." I was like, "Eddie Murphy was a stand-up?" I didn't know Eddie Murphy was a stand-up. I knew him as at that point Beverly Hills Cop 3, I think was what I knew him from, and Nutty Professor.
Yeah.
I was that bracket of Eddie Murphy fan.
I gotcha.
And then the generation ahead of me would the generation younger than me would know him as the donkey from Shrek, and and then the people my dad's age would know him as like this rock star comedian. And I think that's what makes a person truly successful, is that they mean different things to different generations.
Yeah, and they have that longevity.
Yeah, I learned that from a friend. One of my cousins sounds like Chris Rock. He has like the same cadence as Chris Rock. He's a little Colombian guy, but he has the same cadence as Chris Rock. And he was at a party, and some little girl who's like 5 or 6 years old said, "Oh my God, you sound so familiar. Why do I know your voice?" And then everyone was like, "How does who is showing this little girl like Chris Rock stand?" And then they're shocked, like, what did they show her? And then she goes, "I know. You sound like the zebra from Madagascar." And I'm like, that's who Chris Rock is to that child. So
right.
You mean different things to different people. So but Eddie Murphy came together for me when I saw Delirious.
Is he your favorite comedian, or was he at the time, or is he still? Or
it's weird, man. My favorite comedian, like, it changes based on what I'm into. If I'm into,
that's
like,
I was gonna say is that a juvenile question to ask really anyone?
No, it's legit. But
what is your favorite so and so? Why do people need to have? Is that?
No. I mean, growing up, Robin Williams was my guy. Eddie Murphy. And then when I really got into stand-up, like really got into stand-up, all of a sudden I started liking like Mitch Hedberg and Hannibal Buress. And
yeah, you mentioned Louis, of course.
Rory Scovel. Well, not anymore. No. Okay. Rory Scovel, Bill Burr. I love Ali Wong.
You love comedy.
I love comedy. Amy Schumer's. The thing is that I hate people who dog out Amy Schumer, because I was like, "Have you heard her first album, Cutting?" And they're like, "No, I didn't know she had an album." Like, this is when she was like touring with like Dave Attell, and you could like see the Dave Attell in her jokes. And I hate that people dog out at Amy Schumer, because I'm like, listen to Cutting. That's one of my favorite albums, is Cutting. Amy Schumer.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't like everything a person puts out, I mean, you have to respect the hard work and the success and the fact that they've had built an audience, regardless. That's something. There's something to be said just for accomplishing that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know who I was also a big fan of growing up, who's not a comedian per se, but was a big influence on me, was John Leguizamo. Do you know who John Leguizamo is?
Yeah, the actor.
The comedic guy, yeah. All his one-man shows were just amazing. Like, a friend of mine who's an actor just got to work with him in this movie that Leguizamo is directing about high school chess players. And I was just like, I can't believe you got to work with John Leguizamo. Like to me, because, Mexican and Cuban people are different. They're really different. So I didn't like, I wasn't like a big fan of Mexican comedians growing up. Like, my family didn't watch the George Lopez show.
Yo, that's racist, I think, kind of, or not. What's up?
No, but I'm saying is just that, like, I didn't relate to Mexican stand-ups, and there was really nobody other than Mexican stand-ups killing the game in comedy when I was a kid.
Sure.
And then I saw John Leguizamo, who I think is like Colombian, but he's got more of that New York shit going on. And I was like, this dude is a silly ass person like me and my family. So like, that was the first guy I saw that kind of like reminded me of my relatives, that made me think like, oh, I guess there's one guy. It's that guy. And maybe there'll be two guys. Maybe I can be the second guy. And then,
yeah, what? Go on.
No, and that's what I thought. But then stylistically, I ended up going up in another direction, because I fell in love with like being really, really silly, really, really absurd. And then, a couple relationships, and all of a sudden I'm talking more about like love and stuff like that. Like, it's all kind
feelings. What are those?
Not feelings, but like,
Oh no, definitely not feelings then. Yeah, sorry.
I mean, it's just silly. It's not. I don't like people who are like cutting open wounds on stage. I'm not a fan of that shit. But I mean,
Just be
like,
funny.
just be funny. So like, kind of like blowing specific feelings up. Like, you ever see like those little models of a molecule where people will like expand the.
I think
You know what I
so.
mean? It's made out of like plastic, and you can
Yeah.
put it in, and it looks like an urchin when you put it in, and then you expound it out, and it's a globe and stuff like that. They go in and out. Like, I like to take like little ideas and then just blow them up to the point where you can't really tell what the smallest part of it is, but you can kind of like feel it. So I try to make everything fictional, yet it's kind of drawn from something that's real.
Yeah. When did you move to LA? And you could tell me more about maybe some of the highlights or memorable comedy experiences,
2000
up
August,
to date if you want.
it's August 2013. We drove from Miami to Los Angeles, which I'm probably gonna have to do again at the end of this pandemic. And it's funny because the dude that drove with me, he's about to be a dad next month. And he drove with me 7 years ago, and he said, "I want to do that drive again with you." So,
That's cool.
so he's probably gonna do the drive. That's the UPS guy. So I'm gonna have a UPS dude driving my
Wait,
car.
what's his name?
His name's Logan Dodds.
That's cool. You have a professional.
Junior college pitcher of the year for Florida in 2011, I want to say, or 2010. He played at Miami-Dade College. Really good. Um, and he's just really good friend of mine. So I'm looking forward to that again. And so I moved there, and like the first night I got there like at night. I got there like on a Saturday night, like really late, like 4 a.m. And then the next day it was a Sunday, and I went to an open mic that day. So the first night I went to an open mic at this place called Haragua. That's not there anymore. I think it's like on Beverly and like Wilton, like Beverly and Wilton, Beverly and maybe just beyond Western. It was this like Honduran restaurant, and they had like a little ballroom, and then like this dude that I know that was just on HBO Max this week, he was the host of that, and now he premiered this week doing a set on HBO Max. And I met some friends that would mean a lot to me at that first mic. So yeah,
So you kept in touch with people, and you
no, not really. I'm
not kept in touch, but you're still aware of them and where you guys are probably
I keep tabs on them, but the thing is that they get busy, or they're kind of done with that part of their life, or whatever it is. I mean, nobody this isn't a novel, you know what I mean? This is not like it's fucking, it's a hard ass business, and just people get pulled apart, and then when you see them, just be happy. And then, maybe you can run into each other at a bar and talk about that shitty gig that you did, and how you probably should have died, but you didn't die, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I mean, highlights, the whole thing, man. I had a real fun time doing the whole thing.
The whole comedy journey.
Yeah, man. I mean, I've had some fun ass times. I remember I've done shit that this is what I'll say. What I lack in financial success at this current juncture in my life, I've made up for with stories. Like, I have so many stories. So like when I'm at a party here in Miami, I'm with people that like make a really good living, but they're asking me about like a gig I did in the middle of California. And I'm telling them like a 15-minute story about it. And that's the trade-off that you kind of make doing comedy, which is like you're not going to be successful at it. You're not going to make money at it for a while. And I still don't know what I'm talking about because I'm in the middle of it. So who knows if maybe I quit tomorrow and I'm like, that was fun. Whatever, let's go do something else.
I don't think you're going to quit. I don't get that sense.
I don't think either, but
it seems like a good outlet for you, and maybe even a needed one for you, again, because it doesn't limit you in terms of who you can be, want to be, feel like being that day, or what you want to say or convey to people.
Well,
Like it seems like a great avenue for you.
it's just fun, and also like there's
That
shit
too.
it's like there's shit that I can say on stage that I can't say as an adult in polite society. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I don't like about people trying to police each other's jokes and shit. Because it's really like these. I don't like. I don't like.
No, I know, man. I agree.
I don't know how to say it. Stand up. When I got into stand up, I thought everybody would be funny. Like I thought it was like everybody's like me, and everybody was the class clown, and everybody was the funniest where they came from. That's maybe 2% of comedy, and then everybody else is just kind of like whatever. They were really smart, and they figured out an algorithm how to tell jokes. But like you walk up to them after a show, and they're not like fun, and they're not cracking jokes. Like
Right.
the thing against me for the longest time, which I was really annoying. I was really annoying because I have so much energy, and the thing was that I'd have other comedians like look at me and be like, "Do you ever turn it like off?" And I said, and I used to say to them, I'm like, "Do you ever turn it on? Like even on stage, do you even turn it on ever?" I was like, because there's sometimes I look at a comedian, I'm like, "Do you even want to fucking be here, man?" Like, you know what I mean? Like I hate that style of comedy where the dude looks like he doesn't want to be there.
But doesn't the audience see right through that and not engage? And isn't that them shooting themselves in the foot?
No, I mean that's like a popular style. It's a blasé. It's, you know what I mean? I see a lot of shit that's very blasé and stuff. And I'm not saying that it doesn't deserve its own lane. That's fine, but I'm just like, ugh, don't look at me like I'm an asshole because I want to be funny and I give it up to an audience and I like.
Yeah, you have your own style and your own energy and then things that you bring to the table, I guess, for sure.
I really don't care about what a person does as long as the shit is funny. And,
right.
And that they like they're workers and they give a shit. And like I told you, there hasn't been a lot of like naturally talented people I've met. There's been a lot of hard workers.
What about goals, dreams, plans in comedy? Like, where do you see yourself 5 years, 10 years? What do you want to do? That's kind of, you answer that however you want. Yeah.
That's kind of in my head for me to know, but I will say that there's a venue that I drive by in Miami all the time. That's a big venue. And I'm like, man, I would love to sell that place out. And it's a place I went to as a kid. I don't want to say what the venue is right now.
Sure.
But I was like, I want to sell that place out in my hometown because I used to see so many out of town acts, but I never saw anybody from Miami in that place. And there's some good Miami comedians, but I never saw a Miami dude in this venue. So that's in there. There's scripts that I've written that I would love to do.
But as far as the comedy, it sounds like you just love comedy, you want to continue to do it and make money and grow your following. And what about acting? I mean, is that something?
Oh yeah, I would love to. I just
do you write your scripts for yourself to perform in as well?
Yeah, I write a lot of them so I can perform, and it's just about me like getting the things together for it.
Right.
Getting the funding and stuff. I was getting the funding for a project before the quarantine happened. I was meeting with a guy like every week on this project that I've been trying to do for like 2 years now. And, I found a director and, he was going to help me find people for an art, like from an art department because the stuff, it was like a kind of silly idea. Then COVID happened and it sucked because I was on my way to actually doing it for the first time in 2 years. And I still think about it, and hopefully we can pick up where we left off when everything comes back, if everything comes back. So we'll see. But again, just the idea of it and the anticipation makes me happy. I don't know about you, but like, do you ever just get like excited just thinking about a new joke, figuring a new joke out, or figuring out a script, or figuring out? I just like all that shit.
I'm working on a lot of different creative projects right now, some of which are overlapping similar to yours, scripts and things like that. And I definitely concur. And that happens, I get very excited about things. Excitement is one of my favorite emotions, I think, or whatever, is to be excited, to be looking forward to something, or
Yeah,
be even proud of your own success, even if it's a small problem you solved in a script or a funny joke that made you laugh on stage or in a podcast or whatever the case may be.
oh
Like,
man,
sure.
my favorite thing is like a joke where you say it over and over and over again, and it didn't get a laugh the first time, but there's something about it that you like, and you try it like 25 more times and still doesn't get a laugh. But you're like, they're wrong. And then you like let it go. And then 3 months later, you just say it with like a little tweak, and all of a sudden it's funny. And then like the explosion in your brain is like someone just shoved 5 mollies down your throat. Like it just gets the brain popping in a way that like there's nothing comparable to it. Like,
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's a cool feeling for sure. Is there anything else you wanted to mention or cover or talk about? I'll give you the floor, and you can promote whatever you want as well. I'll let you do your
promote.
thing.
I did my first Zoom show last night. Have you done a Zoom show yet?
Not for this. I'm gonna start doing some more live streaming, and then I probably will start putting out video and doing some video stuff. I'm working my way towards it. We'll get there. I know that's what I need to do.
What I really want to do is that I want to start like a backyard show here that hopefully I can like stream, and something small, and I just want to get back into it and
stand up. Have you been writing right now? Like, is it hard to write?
Yeah, I've been writing. I have like jokes. I've been kind of writing off and on for like the last
You
few
tested on mom and dad your material or what?
I tested in conversation because I mean
That's hilarious.
I know, there's ways that you bob and weave, and I learned that from a wonderful comedian. I don't want to name drop, but my friend Brian.
Go for it.
My friend Brian Simpson taught me how to do that because he's really good at weaving in like bits in a conversation. And I was like, oh yeah, all it requires is just some patience, and it's like. It's timing, and it's just organically, because I wasn't an organic person for a long time. I would try to force ideas and just go like too quick. And then like a guy like this just taught me patience. And so now I can test shit in conversation and stuff like that. So
your parents were wondering why you kept asking them, what's the deal with peanuts?
Yeah.
What's the deal with airplane peanuts? You ask them that all the time. They're like, why is this guy so worried about airplane peanuts all the time?
What does he keep asking us how long we've been married? He knows we've been married for
how long have you guys been married? Mom, I'm doing crowd work.
Mom, get out! I'm doing crowd work.
Yeah, look at that. You brought it full circle. Wow, there's a method to the madness. Why don't you tell people where they can find you, follow you, if you want?
Instagram mainly at Mike Menendez, and please come and see me when everything comes back, man. But please stay safe, because if you're dead, you can't come see me. So.
Yeah, streaming show in your parents' backyard would be cool. I will tune into that if that comes together. But again, I appreciate your time. It's been a lot of fun. I learned a lot. I feel like I'm going to be unwrapping and unpacking and a lot of this in my own mind, this conversation in the coming days and perhaps weeks.
Maybe
I might have to bring you back eventually and dive deeper.
Maybe I'm not as immature as I thought I was. Whatever.
Yeah. Every day slightly less immature is what I strive for, I suppose.
I'm fighting, man. I'm trying to go back the other direction. That show is so much more fun, man.
Yeah. No, I think maybe I am backsliding in that direction as well. But on that note, again, thank you very much. I'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening. You're on East Coast time, so it's I don't know what time it is, but it's later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, East Coast. It's 9:26 over here.
Yeah, man. Enjoy the rest of your night. Take care.
I will. You too, buddy. Thank you.
You got it. So there you have it. My conversation with Mike Menendez. That was fun. I've seen Mike do comedy. He's funny, but I've never seen him hoop. Can he really ball? I'm terrible, by the way. Short and can't go left. My mid-range game is decent, though, I suppose. Anyway, for everything about this show, of course, head to peoplewelovepodcast.com. I think I'm done for today, and I definitely appreciate you guys listening. As always, the support means a lot to me. Thank you again, and let's talk soon. Peace.